clapperboard at the ready because, look at this. It's so big now. Solo Language Learner Planner. Just got a little upgrade. So, hello, first of all. If you've been following me for a little while, you may know already the Solo Language Learner Planner. So this is a planner for language learners learning languages solo. Surprise, surprise. I'm really good at naming things. And recently I've been working on making this bigger and better than it ever was before. So there's everything in there that was in there previously, and then I've added new useful pages for you for your tracking of your language learning and all of that stuff. So I want to talk through things a little bit. Now, the whole point of the Solo Language Learner Planner is that you do not need to use everything all at once. That is something that I say in the little introduction, and you know, it's really important because I don't want you to get this and feel like, whoa, this is like, what? You know, the whole point of this is that you can take the things that you need from it and use those as and when you need them, okay? So let's talk through everything that you get in this planner. So when we begin, the first page that you get in the planner is this one. Now this is the annual calendar, so this is the one that is sort of loosely dated, I guess, right? From January to December, but it's to give you like an overview. So when you are feeling a bit like, end of year, you want some inspiration, this is the page for you for that time, okay? Then you've got this one, which is going into a little bit more detail with 6 months. Now, with all of these pages, by the way, you get this digital and print ready so that you can choose, you know, when you want to use stuff and it's not dated. Like I said, they have the months on for the full page annual thing, but everything else completely undated. So you can use them again and again and again. Save a blank copy, copy that file when you get it, and then you can keep going forever and ever, right? So this is kind of 6 months, goes into a little bit more detail about what you want to do for each of those months. And then maybe you want to track all of that. So you have, these ones are new, these are the habit trackers, okay? So this is an annual habit tracker from January to December, and they're all kind of tied out February with 29, just in case it's a leap year. But this is really just a page that you can like pin up and just every day, if you've got something you want to do every single day, maybe that is literally just like a contact goal, right? Just like my friend Kirsten says about this with Welsh, she has this contact goal of like having some kind of contact with the language. Maybe it's just that is your daily habit. So all you need to do at the end of the day, just tick the box, done, and you can keep track of a whole year on one page, which is pretty cool. Then we come into the monthly stuff, so your monthly calendar, and I flipped this. There was some feedback that it would be easier if it was this way around, so now it is. And this one, Monday through to Sunday, I've given you 5 weeks to work with for those weird months where there's like 4.5 weeks. So a monthly page, monthly calendar page you can use, and monthly then habit trackers as well. Now monthly and weekly habit trackers, you've got simple and you've got advanced. So the simple one, this one you've got 3 months. You're quite literally doing the same as you were with the annual habit tracker. The monthly advanced, extra space there for like what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, what went well, that kind of thing. So you can just take things a little bit further and a bit more reflection involved in the whole process. A weekly calendar, so you've got a week diary overview from Monday through to Sunday, your to-dos, your top to-dos, your live lessons happening, and a space for some notes as well, followed by your weekly trackers. And again, you've got the simple and you've got the advanced. So the simple, you've got 4 weeks of just keeping track and what you learned that week. Advanced, more space for more notes if you want that. And then finally, in the calendars and planners section, you've got your daily planner page. So this one really kind of covers everything that you could want. Arranged lessons and exchanges, your top priorities, to-do list, and you can tick at the start of like numbers of, you know, so when you want stuff to get done by, and tick it at the end if you get it done. With if time list as well. So you're deciding what really needs to get done and what is less important but could be good too. Some space as well for the new stuff that you learn, to practice that, and deciding like if it was good, like how did you feel after that sort of study session, right? So you've got this one to work with too. Moving on then to the next section of the planner, which is goals. So the goals section, this one is like your first impressions for a new language. So you kind of have an idea that you want to get started with something, but you don't know much about that language at all. You don't know where to begin. this is where you begin. Just the why, the how, the when, and what your goal is with that language. However, maybe it's a language that you're already learning, so you've got a bit going on. So this second page walks you through the vocabulary, grammar, reading, all those different areas, going into things like accountability and documenting. How are you going to do all of those things? You know, and what is it that you're going to be using for that as well. Next up, you've got 2 pages of language goal questions. So before you fill out the onion and the ladder goals, you've got these to help you figure out what exactly it is that you're wanting and how you're going to make that happen. We've got onion and ladder goals. I've got examples of the simple and the advanced versions. All of this stuff I'll show you on this camera so you can see the simple version with the example as well. The advanced version of the onion goal, the simple version for you to use, the advanced version, and then the same for the ladder goals. So kind of simple version with a simple example, advanced with an example, you get the idea. And then of course your blank pages and templates there so you can get started. And then also in that goals section, you've got your project planner. So if you're thinking, you know, I want to just do like a quick couple of weeks or a month or 3 months refreshing a language or learning a new language, and it's not something that you want to learn kind of long term, you can use the project planner page to help you with that. So it's a bit similar to the daily planner, but there's different elements to consider. So what's your balance of like on and offline? What's the timeline that you're working to? That is all there as well, that you can figure out everything. And finally, study review. So the study review page is after any session. This page is really, really versatile. After any session, did you get everything done that you wanted? You know, for every kind of aspect of that. And, you know, why was that the case? It's kind of just analysing and reflecting and reviewing everything that went on. And then thinking about going forward. You know, tasks to be moved on to next month, things to be dropped, and what are you going to change. And now we get into a new section of the planner. So these ones are completely new. These are the record pages. Now there's a lot, they look very similar, but they're all kind of subtly different across the top. So to begin, we've got our lesson record and our lesson notes. So the lesson record, this page has been adapted and improved from the old one, and this one gives you a chance to just keep track of the lessons that you've had for that language. And the notes page, however, gives you a before, during and after each lesson. So before, what is it that you want to try, anything that you want to share with your tutor. And then during, there's space for usage there as well, and a space to just mark if you want to learn that, how important it is to keep going. As well as that, you've got a little bit extra space for other things that you might have learned. Maybe there's a different kind of grammar rule or an exception to some kind of other grammar rule that you knew but now are like, what? Exceptions? You can keep track of all of that stuff here. And then finally, the after. How do you feel after that session? Just keeping track of all of that can help you to realize, is there something that's kind of triggering some sort of positive or negative emotion from your language learning, and is that something that you need to address? And then pretty similarly, you've got your lesson exchange record and exchange notes as well, and they whoosh, are followed by your output records and your input records. So we've got one for speaking, writing, reading, podcast, TV, film. Ta-da! Now all of these are a little bit different. So on the speaking across the top, you're tracking down, is it solo or was it a conversation? Was it script or was it improvised? Any mistakes that you wanted to keep track? And all of them have this at the end. Did you enjoy it? So important to just make sure that you're enjoying your language learning. And our final page before we get into the last section, which is the deep dives, is the content review. So I find that sometimes when I've used a piece of content, you know, as well as keeping track of it on your records, you might want to just take a chance to reflect on that if it's something a bit bigger. And then also there's a space here, and I love this one, my 6-word review in my target language. So a few years ago when I started this thing, when I watch a film, that I would write my 6-word review of that film. It started, actually, I can tell you, it was the good, the bad and the ugly. My 6-word review is David Beckham squinting in a Stetson. That is what that film is. You can't change my mind. But, right, so I thought that's a fun thing to just include here, to do that in your target language for whatever it is that you are sort of consuming, right? So is it a film, is it a TV, a podcast episode, whatever it is, how would you review that in the language? So that's on that page with everything else. And then finally, we get into the deep dives. Now these, again, much like the records, completely new, very exciting, and a chance to really, you know, that content review is you could use that after this, because the first one is the content deep dive. Okay, so the content deep dive is for when you have something like I said, like a podcast, TV episode, a film, a piece of music, whatever it is, and you want to really use that for your language learning. It's kind of, I've said this before, it's almost like a sponge, and you can kind of wring it out and get everything from it, or you can just kind of go bloop and enjoy it a little bit, right? But we're going to wring it out with these deep dives. So what are you expecting from the context? And then some space for those new words and examples and any usage notes as well. And finally, some space for some sentences. And also on the bottom of every deep dive, you've got 3 boxes. Number 1 is how well do I know it? Number 2 is do I need it? And number 3 is the priority to learn. So when you've done something like this, you know, what do you need to do next? Is it something that's worth keeping going with and keeping learning from? Or can you leave it there? You know, you don't have to take everything to the extreme. So it's about deciding where you want to take things, right? So that's a chance to just review things as you go. So there's the content deep dive that you can use for pretty much anything that you decide to use for your language learning. The vocabulary deep dive. Now this one I love. So this is a chance for when you have a new word, right? That you want to, maybe you're struggling to learn this new word and you're kind of thinking, oh, you know, I've tried the rote learning over and over again. Why not just really take it to the extreme almost and deep dive on that one word? So there's space here for etymology notes, there's space here for other language notes. So maybe if you know some other languages, there's some sort of connection of, you know, oh, in Spanish it's that, so in French I know that I can expect it to be this, and it is, so that's interesting. You formed a connection. In other forms as well, so maybe this word is a noun but also an adjective and it's just different endings, so you know, how does that fit? Then you've got a space for a mind map of related vocabulary. I love mind mapping, where especially like if you go back from one word and just seeing where it all takes you, that can be a really, really fun activity and a great way to kind of deep dive into a new word. And of course then you've got space for sentences and your 3-part quick circle, circle, circle review at the end as well. Next up is the grammar deep dive. So this one, again, a little bit different. Space to just make note of what it is that you're talking about and then explain it in your own words. So maybe you found an explanation over on YouTube, you've got the one from your textbook, that one's a bit dry, that one's a bit too fun. How would you explain this? Imagine you're teaching someone else, write that down there in that box. That's what that's for. And then before your chance to write some sentences and actually practice your grammar in context, you've got space for usage notes, exceptions, and again, in other languages. So how does this work in other languages? Is there a connection there that you can form between what you know already about something else and what you're learning about this language too? And finally, the verb deep dive. So this one, So this one then, you've got space for the verb in the dictionary form, then usage notes, exceptions, and other languages again. I feel like that's really important. And then tense boxes, right? Now obviously this verb one, it's not going to work for every language. Every language is a bit different. Some languages don't have tenses, right? So, you know, this one won't be ideal for, say, Chinese. You know, but for many languages that do have a lot of tenses, this will be a very, very helpful page to practice all of that verb stuff. And then of course, some space for sentences at the bottom and that 3-part review as well. And that is your verb deep dive. And that is the final page of the new Solo Language Learner Planner. What? So altogether then, we've got 36 blank pages for you to take and track your language learning, from calendars to habit trackers to goal setting to reviews and records and deep dives as well. I've honestly really loved working on this and working on adding to this and expanding, and I've used a lot of these myself as I've been going through that process of like sort of trialing out things and seeing how they all work, and I've really enjoyed it. So I hope that you enjoy it too. If you already have the Solo Language Learner Planner, you'll instantly get an upgrade to this, so no worries, you don't need to do anything, you'll get an upgrade sent out to you. And if you don't yet have a copy and you want one now after seeing that and you're like, yes, I need this in my life, I need to plan out my language is a mess, then no problem, you can get it at the link in the description below. And I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll keep an eye out for questions. And yeah, I will see you very soon. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you haven't already for regular language learning videos. I'll see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.